Hello everyone and welcome back to Flo's Corner. So in this video I'm going to be showing you how to make funnel cakes. So please stay tuned. So first we are going to start on the ingredients that's going to be used to make these funnel cakes. Here is all of the ingredients that we are going to use. I will link all of them and their measurements in the description down below. So first you're going to measure out 2 cups of milk. It doesn't matter any kind of milk that you like to use. For this funnel cakes that I'm going to be making, I'm using whole milk. Now you just want to take a medium-sized bowl and you're going to measure out 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I have personally never used any other kinds of flour to make funnel cakes, but if you have or would like to, you're more than welcome to try. Then you're going to take 1 teaspoon of baking powder and you're going to place it into the flour, followed by a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And then you're going to add 2 tablespoons of granulated sugar. Then you're going to take a whisk and mix all of the dry ingredients until all of them are incorporated together. Next, we're going to get started on our liquid ingredients. So you're going to crack open 2 large eggs and you're going to place it into the flour. Now you're going to pour in about half of the milk into the mixture. I like to do half at a time because I don't want to over liquefy my batter. Sometimes when you pour all at once, sometimes you notice that you didn't need about a 1/4 teaspoon or maybe a 1/2 teaspoon of the milk. So I like to do in batches just in case so that my batter is not too liquidy. Once you give that a little mix for about 30 seconds, then you're going to add a 1/2 teaspoon plus a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. It is up to your discretion on how much vanilla extract you want to add in your batter. I like to do a 1/2 and a 1/4 just to give it the right amount of vanilla taste. You can also add cinnamon, you can add nutmeg, you can add all kinds of different types of seasoning or flavor to give your funnel cakes a really pop of taste. It is all up to your discretion. Now we're going to add some more of our milk. I still didn't pour fully the rest of the milk because I just want to make sure that I am not going to make this batter runny. So I did another about a 1/4 more of milk to see how the batter is going to come out. So I'm just going to keep whisking it and whisking it until I see how the texture is going to come out. So I know you're probably wondering, well, why measure out 2 cups of milk if you're not going to use all of it or you're afraid to use all of it? It's not really about being afraid. I've made this many of times and then sometimes, I don't know, it just happens where it just looks too over runny or too just like too much milk. I don't know how to really explain it. It's just one of those things where I just always measure out 2 cups and then I kind of go on my judgment there. Most of the time, like I said, it's only maybe about like a 1/4 teaspoon or 1/2 teaspoon of milk that you don't use that I'll just normally pour back into the gallon. No big deal, however, or sometimes I use all of it. It just depends on how it came out, but I always use the method of the pouring little bit at a time. So here I'm just going to take my measuring cup and I'm going to pour the batter into the measuring cup because this is what the method that I'm going to use to pour it when we are making our funnel cakes. So I like to consider this a more non-traditional way because funnel cakes get their beautiful name from using a funnel. I personally have not got it down packed to use it with a funnel. It normally becomes a big mess because of the texture of the batter, but I'm working on it on how to actually do it with the funnel. But hey, like I said, we find ways to do it in our own different ways. So next we are going to get started with the whipped cream topping. So this is truly optional. You do not have to make your own whipped cream or add whipped cream to your funnel cakes, but it's actually really delicious. So I love to make my homemade whipped cream, which I'm going to start with 1 cup of heavy cream, followed by 3 tablespoons of powdered sugar and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. The easiest, simplest way to make homemade whipped cream is heavy cream, powdered sugar, and some type of flavoring. Very simple. You're just going to place your whisk attachment on a high speed and let it do its job. It's pretty much just going to whip from this liquid into a really nice cream that is whipped, which is considered whipped cream, if you really want to say it. And boom, you just literally take your eyes off of it, just kind of, come back to it about 5 minutes from starting, and then look to see the consistency. If you notice that it's still too loose or too runny, you just whip it even more. And then that is it. This whipped cream recipe is just for a very small batch. I wasn't making a lot of funnel cakes and I didn't want to make such a big batch of whipped cream. You're more than welcome to double it or add a little bit more powdered sugar if you want it more sweetened. This was just the perfect consistency for me and was just enough where it wasn't so much that was left over. So you can use it for any other pastries or anything like that that you wanted to use it for. So I sped up the video, but I do have my mixer between 6 and the number 8, just because you need to really, really whip this heavy cream for it to get into that creamy texture solidification that you need it to get to. Never whip your whipped cream on such a low speed because you're going to be there forever while that baby is taking its time to whip up into a cream. But here you see it is now went from the liquid that you just seen into this cream, which is exactly how I wanted it. If you want a more firmer cream, you're more than welcome to keep whipping so it can be a little bit more stable, but this is just toppings on top of the funnel cake, so I didn't need it to be so stabilized. Now I'm just going to set this into the refrigerator while we are going to start making our funnel cakes, because you want to make sure your whipped cream always stays cold. So now you just want to take a pot, or you can use a pan, and you are going to fill it up with some oil, not so much where it's like half the pot full of oil, maybe just about a quarter of the way. And here I'm just going to demonstrate to you the wrong way of making funnel cakes, which I have done in the past without learning. And this is just pretty much where you're taking your batter, and first off, the grease was not even hot enough for you to pour in the funnel cake. So you can clearly see it is not even barely bubbling or anything like that. But the second wrong way was that it was just dumped in there. Funnel cakes tend to have this look where it's supposed to be more on the thinner side. So you definitely just don't want to pour, because it will kind of sort of look like a pancake. So funnel cakes always have this distinctive look. So pretty much when you are pouring into your grease, you are going to pour in like a zigzag, round and round, up and down, side to side motion, where it's going to give you this look of like, I would say lines if you want to say it like that, maybe like a line look. It's kind of hard. If you know what funnel cakes look like, then you kind of get my drift. I just have having a hard time of like how to describe it at this moment, but it's never just one flat look. Now, you're going to make many of funnel cakes and they're all not going to come out uniform, and that's okay. But funnel cakes do have a distinctive look. Once you entered it into the grease, you notice that it starts to puff up to the top of the grease, which is floating. And that's when you know that the grease was definitely hot enough. I will put the measurements of how much, what the temperature of your grease should have been before pouring in your batter. So normally you're going to let it brown for about a minute to maybe a minute and a half. Once you notice that it is a nice little golden brown, then you're going to turn it on the other side to get it browned on that side. And then you're just going to remove it onto a platter with some paper towel so that the excess oil can come off. And then you're just going to keep continuing with the rest of your batter, making more and more funnel cakes until all the batter is completely done. So my stove is on a number 5. So depending on your stove, I would say just keep your oil on a medium flame just to be on the safe side. You will notice that your flame is too hot or too high when you are placing your funnel cakes in there and they are burning immediately. So that means that they'll brown really bad on the outside, but still be kind of very doughy and mushy in the middle. And you definitely do not want that. It is also up to your discretion on how brown you want your funnel cakes to be. Most of the time, when you have it more than a golden brown, then you're going to have it to be very crunchy. I do notice that some people do like funnel cakes to be more crunchier versus more softer. So it is literally honestly up to your discretion or whoever you are making them for. I honestly love the way funnel cakes taste. They just have this distinctive taste that just reminds you of just being at a carnival when you've been riding rides all day and you just can't wait to sink your mouth and teeth into some delicious funnel cakes. Like, honestly, that is a childhood memory that goes down as one of the best memories in your lifetime. So for these in particular, it was my son's 14th birthday. So he requested for me to make some funnel cakes. He loves when I make funnel cakes. So I just decided that I was going to make him a funnel cake. So please definitely stay tuned to the end so you can see the funnel cake that I made for him. So this is the rest of the batter. So this recipe made 5 funnel cakes in total, which was great. You're more than welcome to double the batter recipe, or you can make them smaller or however. I just like this medium size for the funnel cakes. I felt like it's just enough for one person, so it's definitely up to your discretion. Now we're going to start on our toppings. So once all of the funnel cakes are on the platter with the paper towel, I like to sprinkle some powdered sugar on top using a strainer. So you're just going to put some powdered sugar into the strainer and just sprinkle. So very simple, very easy. It's up to your discretion if you want to just pour it. I like to give it kind of that little, uniform look that you get when you're at the carnival and they're sprinkling it on there. Now, this is totally optional. You do not have to add whipped cream if you do not want to, but for our sake, we love whipped cream on top of our funnel cake. So I just made a little dome shape of whipped cream using it in a Ziploc bag. You're more than welcome to use it in a piping bag with a piping tip. I did add some strawberries as garnish, but also as toppings as well, because you can add so much to funnel cakes, all kinds of fruit, all kinds of candy, anything. You guys remember the carnival. You can add whatever you want on top of your funnel cake. So it is all up to your discretion on how fun you want to make these. My recommended toppings is caramel, chocolate, apples. Man, it is the bomb. So now we are all done. So this is the one I added the toppings on. Yum, yum, and yum. So I pretty much kept the rest of them just with powdered sugar on them because I told you guys I was going to make this into a cake. So I'm going to show that in a few seconds. But here is what all of them look like. You can see all of the different funnel cakes. I made 5 in total. Like I said, they don't always have to have a uniform look. As long as the taste was there, that's all that matters, baby. And just to make it into a cake, I'm just going to tell you how so simple the process was. You're just going to add them on top of each other. And the one that I put the toppings on, I added as the top layer. So pretty much here it is. A funnel cake. How amazing is that? Don't you guys love it? Definitely give me a like if you love this funnel birthday cake that I made for my son. But I really hope this tutorial was helpful. Thank you all for watching. Here's my precious 14-year-old. He's my second born. Happy birthday, Milo. I love you so much. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye.